Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is Cee, certified brewhead.
And I am Tiffany, liquid enthusiast.
And welcome to episode 30 of Beer and the Podcast Link Up series. 30 episodes, eh?
I know, wild.
It kind of feels wow. It kind of feels wild.
Yeah, it's just like, I can't believe they racked up like that.
Yeah,
but yeah.
it's
how long? It's been a year and a little bit.
6 series.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sick. It's actually been since we launched the first one, 2 years. I think it was August 2021.
Okay, well there you go.
Look at that, eh? Time flying.
Yeah.
So this is week 2 of series 6 of Link Up, our series of 6 collaborations. This is the second week. We are remaining. You might have heard last week with Sam from Sawdust City, where they delivered a glorious lemongrass rice lager, and we are sticking with Ontario with a brewery that's been one of my faves. I feel like one of the underdogs of Ontario beer since they've been around, but if you know, you know.
It's like one of my favorite, was it a double IPA? What was that pineapple?
It's a Holy Trinity pineapple.
Yeah. What was that? Is that a
single IPA? I think it's 7%. We can get corrected on that.
That one I think about sometimes still. Yeah. So, yeah.
I don't know if they still do. They must still do it.
Okay.
We can find out.
Well, yeah.
So if you're an Ontario, beer fan, you probably know who we're talking about. So we're going to bring them on in. Just get this going. Guys, please welcome Dane from Rouge River Brewing in the building.
Hello.
What up, brother? Welcome. Great to finally have you on the pod, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been listening since day one, so it's nice to be on here.
Yes,
cool.
I feel like we've been talking since day one in different aspects. You've been involved in beer. Is that I'm remembering right? Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Well, before I was in beer, I started listening to you guys when it was you and Scotty.
Yeah.
And
wow.
the good old days, and loved it. And then once I finally got into the industry, I think I started reaching out a little bit more and trying to chat with you.
Hell
that's
yeah.
a cool throwback,
right?
Scotty. That's how you know you were listening back then.
Triple OG. Yeah, I know you've been around. You've been in beer a while and stuff, and I know you've been in different places, and you're at a wicked spot to be. First and foremost, it's Jordan's the man. Rouge River I feel like people know, I always call them underdog, because I just feel like they should be talked about more for the haze. And I feel like they are. You are, but am I misinterpreting that? Am I maybe...
No, I feel the same way.
Honestly,
the very first time that I had Rouge River, I didn't know anything about it. I came across this brewery in Markham that said artisan ales on it, and I thought the person opening this up must be crazy. But I bought the IPAs. And I brought them home, and I was blown away. Even at that point, I was like, why is nobody talking about this? This is amazing. And it still kind of is that way to this day. But when Jordan hit me up to come work here, it was the easiest yes for my life at that point.
Oh, I bet, man. It's definitely the spot to be. And we just had the pod, so if people have listening to this series, and if you go back a few episodes on the main adjunct series, we had Jordan on. I don't know, it feels like a few weeks ago, but
I think so.
No idea about time. It probably was released a few weeks ago, but we might have done it a month or two ago. Who even knows at this point? But we had a great chat. We went through a bunch of stuff, and one of the styles that we started talking about, we started off with, was a crispy. And Jordan was expressing he's now learning to sort of fall in love with a crispy, and I really find that it was perfect that is what you guys decided to do for your link up beer, which I guess we should show the people. You guys delivered. I'm very excited about this. A West Coast Pilsner, which is super cool. Oh, you can hold that. There she comes in here.
There we go. That's the one.
Looking glorious. Look at that. 5.1%. I don't know. I really enjoyed about Jordan's personal journey that he's a Hayes kid, and obviously that speaks to my heart. But also the fact that he's sort of you guys been doing more lagers over the last maybe year or so, and he's sort of starting to get the style, and obviously he gets it because he's making them and he's killing it. But really start to personally fall in love with the style a little bit, which I appreciated that he's learning, and I bet the lagers are only going to keep getting better and better and better as you guys keep making them,
Yeah, without a doubt. When I started, we'd never made a lager before, and then I had Jordan make Ridges, our Pilsner, which is named after the neighborhood I grew up in, and the good thing about Jordan is that even though he wasn't in love with the style at the time, he put everything he had into learning how to make that beer, and now it's honestly beautiful. And a lot of his lagers are really, really, really dialed in. So the West Coast Pils was the next challenge for him, and I think he hit it out of the park.
Hell yeah, man. So a West Coast Pilsner. So what makes this beer specifically a... Oh, let me get that shot. That was a nice hold up there. What makes this one specifically a West Coast Pilsner?
So the Pilsner base is really similar to our German Pils, Ridges. So it's got Bohemian floor malted Pilsner malt as the base. So it gives you that nice bready character. But the hops are all West Coast, old school West Coast. So Simcoe and Centennial. Simcoe is going to give you a lot of that orange, that marmalade almost, a little bit of like an herbal character, and then some of the pine. And then that Centennial is going to give you a bunch of citrus and pine as well. So the two of them just give you that old school West Coast pop.
Oof, yeah, man. As soon as we cracked the can, I was just like, "Oh yeah, I could smell that like next to me." Let me get that photo real quick. It's oh, here we go.
The can art's sick.
Super cool. I want to ask about it. We're gonna talk about that in a
we'll
sec.
talk about it.
Ready? Gotta get that. First and foremost, I need to sip this. So Dane, cheers. Thank you for joining us, brother. Appreciate you.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Genuine pleasure. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great.
What'd you say it was? Centennial
Simcoe.
Simcoe. Oh yeah. So that nice sort of dankness. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Super crisp. Great. Like you're saying that it was floor malted Czech malt. You said.
The floor malted, Pilsner malt.
Pilsner
from
malt,
Germany, but Czech style.
Okay. So floor mom's noting this as you're doing a floor malted malt, and it was the Centennial and Simcoe. Why did you guys choose this particular style for the link-up beer?
I think it has a good degree of accessibility, which was important to us, but also I think is up and coming. So I've been wanting to make a West Coast Pils for a while, but it's one of those things where I didn't have a concept or like a reason or a name or whatever for it.
Okay.
So when this came up, it seemed like a perfect opportunity to do something that I was interested in doing anyways, but that actually would work well for introducing people to beer and introducing people to what we do, right?
Yeah.
So people love lagers, people love crispies, but we are all about the hops for the most part. So for us to do something that's like very Rouge River, I feel like this is like the evolution of where we're at now. We've kind of done a lot of IPAs, we've done a lot of lagers now, and now we're kind of putting the two together.
Hell yeah. I love that explanation. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, being that, you for people who don't know, you guys are like one of the haze lords of the province. And taking that, I like the idea, like we said, man, like taking that sort of ethos and bringing it to lagers. Personally, I love a dry hop. This is dry hopped, I imagine, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. And it was dry hopped with the Centennial and Simcoe?
Correct, yeah.
Hell yeah. It's just so clean, though. And it works perfectly. I like, you've got the old school C hop with the, maybe it's, I was about to say new school. Simcoe isn't totally new school, but delivering that real dankness in there, which works so well with this.
Yeah, Simcoe is super old school, but it's just hung around a little more than Centennial. Centennial you don't see as often. But yeah, these West Coast style beers, they just have like a crispness to the finish, a nice like bitterness that just makes them like perfect for food, perfect for drinking on a hot day. They're awesome.
Yeah, man. Great bitterness as well. Nice and grassy, a little bit of herbal, a little floral in there. Money. This is
delicious.
Dude.
Really,
yeah,
really
really
good.
Impressed. I knew this was going to be fire. So the label I want to ask you about as well. Now,
I love this.
Can
label.
I guess
It's
the
sick.
inspiration? Because if I think I know.
Yeah, I was hoping you would know.
I really hope I'm not wrong here, because now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I know. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, I know this.
Yeah.
And then
I love it because it's in the title.
the Rouge River and Link Up joint.
Yeah.
So is it Do the Right Thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just double check.
Spicy.
And that's why I like
Not
the
gonna lie, I've never
joint. That's
seen
why I
it.
like a Rouge River link up
Yes.
joint. It's very cool to do. And then here, they have it on there on the right side, on this side.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit, I didn't see
Always
that.
do the right thing, and it
look at
feels
that.
good because it's like you're always doing the right thing.
By supporting
100%.
It's very cool.
the industry. Oh, man, that's
I love
that's-
it. It's so sick.
Where did that idea come from? Oh, of course. And then this right here.
Yeah.
So this is something I would have always loved to do, but I didn't know if I
coming.
would ever have the right opportunity. So this beer is made for the label. Is made for my dad. This is his favorite movie. He made me watch this movie when I was a kid, instead of like my dad showing me Star Wars or stuff like that other people's dads showed them. He was making me watch Spike Lee movies.
That's
And,
awesome.
yeah, it's really really important to him. So my dad's a person of color, and for him, like having us grow up like understanding race dynamics was really important. And this movie is like made a huge impact on me when I was a kid. And if I could, when I show it to people, I hope that it does the same for them. So if I can spread a little bit of the word about this movie by putting it on the label here, then I'm
I
happy
love
to do
it.
that for sure. That's really cool.
Dude,
Cool.
that's awesome.
Your dad sounds really dope. That's awesome that you're watching
That's
do the
awesome.
right thing in your youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Mike, he's a
Yeah,
great guy.
that's sick.
I like it. Big Mike
This
is
has to
good.
be one of my favorites, though. I just love it. Like the artist did such good work.
Yeah, really
with
authentic
it.
to
Yeah.
that, and I didn't know that about you, bro. I think that's even cooler because it's super authentic to yourself and to the brewery, and it's something that you've already wanted to do. And I guess this is like you said, kind of like the perfect canvas for it to be able to do
sure.
something like this. Yeah,
For sure. I don't think I would have been comfortable putting a label like this together on a beer that we were making profit on. So to do it on something that's actually going to a great cause just makes it like the perfect opportunity for me.
hell yeah, man.
Look how that lines up.
Do
nicely.
people pick it up? Yeah, it's beautiful, right? Do people pick up on that? Like, have you had so far? Obviously, it's been out. I think a week or two now, 2 weeks probably. Has people like picked up on the label yet?
Only once. Only once is somebody. So I don't spend a ton of time in the tap room these days. I'm on the road a lot. But from what I've noticed, so only one person's mentioned it to me. But they were pretty psyched. Like the kind of person that usually comes in and buys one of whatever's new, and they bought 12. So
Nice.
I really
Okay.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Hell
Cool.
yeah, dude. That's awesome, man.
I'm sure they're very happy because the beer is delicious. So yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
good
money.
win.
I
Big win
love
for
the
them.
idea as well. I'm a big fan of just dry hop pilsners and stuff, and the fact that you're going and taking that and made a unique beer that also aligns with what you normally do as far as, like you said, with the hops, and then bringing in the artwork that ties into your cultural heritage as well as the mission of Link Up. It's this real like beautiful kind of like everything coming together. A nice little circle there. That's lit, bro.
Without a doubt.
So I mean, this is kind of almost now with that context is a kind of like a no-brainer. But always the first question of these podcasts, aside from once we're finished with the beer, is what about link ups that have resonated with you and the team at Rouge River to want to get involved?
Yeah, Jordan and I, since I started, have talked about ways we can get involved in making the community a better place and just making our tap room like a more inclusive and better place too, right? How do you convey to the customer that they're welcome right away? You can't say to every single person, "Hi, welcome to Rouge River." Like no matter your race, creed, whatever, you're welcome here. It's it's a lot of words when it's busy. So how can we do little things around the tap room in order to let people know like that everybody here is welcome and safe? And it started before Link Up. It started internally. So
Good.
we've been wanting to do this for a while, but we decided first to get together with the team and put together a proper like diversity and inclusivity policy, proper code of conduct, make sure those things are well displayed in the tap room, because it's inviting people in is the easy part, but making sure that you have a safe place for them to come to is a lot more complicated. So we could have easily started doing some more like outward work right away, but if we were inviting people into an environment in our tap room that was potentially unsafe or not welcoming, then that wouldn't be right. So we definitely started like internally with the team, focused on our hiring practices, focused on getting that code of conduct and everything together, diversifying our vendors list so that all of our events have a more diverse crowd at them. And then from there, we decided that the next step would make a lot of sense to do Link Up because one, Jordan and I are both advanced Cicerone, so we appreciate the effect that beer knowledge can have on getting a job in this industry. I got my first job in beer because I had done some beer school, and they appreciated that. I had no experience whatsoever, and there were more experienced candidates who applied. But because I'd done a lot of beer education on my own, and I'd gotten a few certifications on my own, they saw that as like a drive that's like more important than having a year or two of experience already. So
Nice.
if we can provide that to to a more diverse crowd and help them get into the industry, it helps us all for sure. So
Wow.
that was big for us.
Amazing. I love hearing that about the Cicerone
Honestly, yeah,
certification.
you're walking the talk.
Yeah,
right here.
because that's literally what we're trying to do. So hearing that, it's just like, okay, beautiful.
The
Like you
embodiment
can see
of
the
it all.
value in making sure that we provide those scholarships. So that's awesome.
100%. It makes a massive difference. And when I walked into my first interview, my director of sales at the time said that, I can teach you how the LCBO works. I can teach you how the beer store works, but I can't teach you the love and passion for the industry. So because you have that already, let's go. So
Awesome.
it's definitely helpful, and you guys are doing a really great thing.
Thank you, man. I feel like though, like you're right about the passion, and it does take a pretty decent amount of passion to get through Cicerone. From what I've seen, it's a very comprehensive program. The first level, a lot of people can finish it in 24 hours. We've given people awarded scholarships, and then 24 hours later, like, cool, finish level 1. Can I get level 2? I'm like, damn, all right, you're a G.
I love those. I love that.
Yeah.
So, even just to do that is like, okay, so you really do have to have that. And that's a great point. And I guess that's part of the mission, is to try and generate that passion for it, to be able to get through that schooling part. It seems difficult, but not impossible. It's a lot to learn. There's just so much to it, where maybe people don't think there's that much to know in beer. So that's part of the journey, is to try and let people know, hey, man, this is a very complex industry, a complex product that has many nuances to it, whether it's the serving side, the brewing side, the pairing side, and that's what you've already stepped up and done. So that's amazing, dude.
Yeah, 100%. And it'll only carry you further through your career too. Even when changing from my previous brewery to Rouge River, I had some experience in the industry at that point. But the real reason that Jordan reached out to me is because he knew that we spoke the same language. There was enough beer education there that he wouldn't have to explain anything to me when it comes to the beer side. That part we're in sync on, and then we can just go from there. So
Right.
it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And like Tiff, like you said, that's exactly what we've been saying to people. That and Jacob from Saint and Baron, who's one of our partners in Link Up, he always said, and they own a brewery in Gatineau, Quebec, and he was always, if 2 people applied for the job and one had the Cicerone and one didn't, regardless of the level, the person with Cicerone is essentially getting the job, because like you said, Dane, you can teach the other thing. You can teach them how the LCBO or the SAQ system works. You can teach all those other things because it's just logic and facts. Whereas the Cicerone is essentially that passion and really that understanding and the language of beer that, you just pick up over time. You just got to be exposed to it. It's just one of those things. So it's sort of really illustrating just how important that education is, and sort of sticking to and just being around beer, whether even if it's just as a lot of folks on Instagram and social media just yapping, in Facebook groups or whatever it might be to other people about beer, can really start to, you just get talking. You just learn. I feel like people would, if the 3 of us were talking about beer and then someone else who wasn't into beer listened, you start throwing words around crispy boys and that, and hop names and all that type of stuff. People are like, the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
So that's really cool to hear. You are a real life example of this.
Yeah,
I
love that.
I think it works. And it's just a demonstration of passion and drive for the product and the industry. And even if you're not speaking the same language, even if it's not about the learning curve, because you can also teach people about beer, but for somebody who's outside the industry to spend their time to learn something like that they may never be able to apply, it definitely shows a lot. And I think that's why they're more likely to get hired.
For sure. You can't, I think passion is the number one thing that you want anyone that you're looking to hire to have. So that's very cool. And that's also self-guided, self-motivated, all of that, all those good stuff.
Yeah,
that
you can't buy passion.
Yeah, you can't buy that. So no, that's very, very cool. I also wanted to come back to what you mentioned about the diverse vendors.
Yes.
What does that look like?
So we try and do a lot of events. So we're a big game changer for us recently is Jordan's partner Kristen came on board to help us out with running some events, and honestly helping out a lot with our diversity and inclusion as well.
Oh yeah.
And so she runs. We've done a few markets, which at first were just whichever vendors applied got in, and now that we have a lot of people applying, we are looking to curate like a more diverse group of vendors, so that we're bringing in a more diverse group of people, right? So
That's
that's
smart.
yeah, it's been working for us too.
Has it
so
worked? As in it's converted, like, not people knowing that truck, because obviously you're bringing in, like, say, a food truck or a business that has their own presence, and then they would advertise that they're going to be serving at a Rouge River event, and then they bring their crowd. Is that how that kind of works?
That's definitely part of it. That's
Okay.
definitely part of it. It's also just about representation too, right? Which is helpful on its own. But them bringing in a crowd that may not know Rouge River, or may not know beer, or might know beer really well, it just doesn't know that we're here. So those days we serve a lot of flights, a lot of flights for sure. A lot
Nice.
of people that are just looking to try
That's great.
everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, they've been really successful.
That's cool.
so
That's
cool.
discovery. That's great for discovery. Yeah, and I don't think we've kind of
We've never
touched on
touched
that,
on that
but
in-
not
not in that
not
way.
speaking to getting different vendors in. I think because you're doing the markets, that's what's very cool, and that's allowing you to have like a different array of different people. We've talked about like maybe letting like a multicultural like associations come in and rent the venue for the night. But I like what
Right.
you have going on. I think that's very cool because, for example, if I make Jamaican T-shirts, I don't know, I'm just randomly throwing it out there, and I'm at your market, then my friends are gonna come see me, and then they're like, "Oh, what's this? What's this place that you're in?"
they got
And then,
alcohol?
You know
I
what I mean?
wanna
And they
drink.
got they have drinks. Like that's very, very cool. It's really smart. Yeah, really, really smart.
Yeah, because it hits on multiple angles.
Yeah, you're also helping your community because you're allowing
Like local
businesses that are
businesses.
likely not even brick and mortars to have a place to come and sell, which is very cool, and like giving them that awareness opportunity. But then
Yeah.
in addition, yeah, you get drinkers in there too. So very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, without
Yeah,
a doubt.
nice.
We've really shifted our focus towards our local community in the last maybe 6 months or so, because of our, I guess, reputation for hazy IPAs. We have a fairly broad following across Ontario of people that are into those type of beers. But really, like for us, we want to be like the Markham craft brewery first. Like we are definitely happy to sell beer to anybody who's interested in hazy IPAs or any of the beers we make, but we really want to make sure we're like a community hub first, so that the people of Markham feel like we're really there for them. And Markham is not a super white place. Markham is
No, not at all.
I think it's a quarter white max.
Yeah.
Right.
So for us, it just doesn't make any sense to cater to only one demographic of people. So just to bring everyone in and let them know that this is the space that you can use has been really helpful.
Yeah.
That was a segue, actually. It's perfect, because I was thinking before, like, not a lot of breweries that we participate in Link Up, or even that we interview in general on the pod, you're either going to be in a major city, which are typically just pretty diverse by nature, or they're going to be in a smaller town or city. And typically, those smaller towns or cities aren't the most diverse places in the world, just once again by nature. But for people who don't know, Markham is just a touch north of Toronto. It's part of the GTA. Is that right? It's part of the GTA, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait,
York
yeah, it's
region.
considered, right?
York
Yeah,
region.
York
Yep.
region. Yeah.
So Markham has a pretty diverse population. So that's kind of what I want to sort of tap into, is that as a brewery in Markham, are you the only brewery in Markham? You have to be.
There is one other, but they don't sell beer to go, I don't believe. I think they just make kegs for bars and restaurants. Can't remember what it's called, but they're like, I don't think they have a tap room or anything like that. It's just sort of like a big contract facility maybe. But yeah,
Gotcha.
we're the only like place you can come and get a good craft beer in Markham.
Gotcha. To go and to drink on premise. Okay. So being that Markham is a diverse place, is got to be. I mean, did that play a part even before you came on board? From what you're aware of, I mean, was that angle from Jordan and his partner and like something that they were trying to sort of attract, to be like, okay, well, we are white folks in a area that's a quarter white, doing a craft beer, a craft brewery that is, unfortunately mostly white clientele base. How can we invite the community at large here to sort of, hey, everyone's welcome. This is some new, cool, fun stuff and different flavors that you may not have thought of. Like, was that like a part of their initial, maybe intention behind the brewery and what they were doing?
Yeah, you'd have to ask Jordan himself to know for sure. But from what I can tell, it was, and they know because Jordan grew up in Markham. Like he knows the
Right.
demographics, and he knew what he was getting into. But Jordan is also he's very artistic, right? Like he's there for the art and the beauty of it. So he's trying to make the most beautiful beer he can, and anybody who
Right.
wants to come drink it is welcome, obviously.
Right.
So I think he set out with the intention of making it a community hub, and that at that point. Uh, he didn't maybe he didn't know who would come, so for the first couple of years you see who you're attracting, right, and then you adjust from there. So it's always been, as far as like when I was a customer there, it's always been a more diverse tap room than the average,
Oh
just
yeah.
because of the
Okay.
demographics of the area. So I used to work in Markham before I worked at Rouge River, and I would stop in all the time, and it was always something that struck me, is that the tap room just seemed a little more diverse than the normal. So he must have been doing something right at that point to get folks in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Because that's something that Tiff and I always talk about with regard to Canada. I feel like, you go to the States, or, well, that's most of the place that's more
Yeah.
diverse. You go to the States, and, typically, not always, but often, you go to a tap room and it tends to be a little more diverse. Maybe they have 10x the people, and unless you're in a small town. But if you go to
Yeah.
any given city,
Not if you're like in Vermont, but if you're in New
Vermont's a bit
York or
different,
something.
but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go to New York, one of the biggest cities or whatever. The tap rooms are pretty diverse, but that's really cool to hear, man. That automatically, without just by nature of being in Markham, you're automatically attracting that. Could you speak to, once again, I know I'm probably asking maybe more broader questions, but I'm sort of just curious and I'm saying this to give context for other breweries who maybe not in those regions, and maybe how they could adopt anything that you guys are doing.
Mhm.
Could you speak to sort of like, did any of that diversity of the area impact Rouge River's behaviors towards whether it's producing the beers, whether it's anything else within the tap room, or anything to do with the brewery, period, events or whatever, as far as just knowing, hey, look, okay, so we're in this area, this is a pretty diverse neighborhood I don't want to call it it's more than a neighborhood. Is it a city?
It's a whole.
It's like I don't know, a region?
No, because
Region's
York
probably a
is
good
the
name.
region.
Suburb?
Yeah, it's a city. Yeah.
City? Okay, sweet. City. It's a pretty diverse city in and of itself, right next to Toronto, but kind of, like it's where anywhere else in Australia we would call it a suburb of Melbourne. So, like, it'd be a suburb of Toronto, the way I see it. So, like, yeah, just knowing that that's there, did that sort of impact any of whether it's the beers itself or even before you came, was there the what do you call it, the vendors and stuff like that for the events? Because maybe if Jordan's thrown an event, then the vendors that might even hit him up, or that he would know that are local, are just going to inherently be diverse. So just curious to how much that impacts the diversity of the whole approach to the business, as opposed to maybe like proactively being welcoming and going after different ones, as opposed to like, oh, these guys are just all local. Oh, they happen to be Thai. There's Viet. There's Chinese. There's Indian.
Right.
There's Jamaican. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the vibe of the whole tap room, and our business is very tap room centric. We sell the vast majority of our beer out the front door, and the bar has about 60 seats in it. So we do most of our business right on premise, and I think it all starts from like curating the vibe from the second the customer walks in. So I know they've always had like inclusive flags throughout the brewery, stickers
Nice.
on the door when you walk in.
Good. That's good to have.
But everything to the music too, right? So music's a good way to curate or to cater to a certain demographic or another, right? If you put on country music all day, you're going to attract a certain demographic, and that's never been the vibe at Rouge River. It's always been a more inclusive atmosphere, and I think he's done a really good job from day one of making that happen.
That's
And
sick.
that's
Nice.
just small, like subtle ways of just letting people know that you're welcome here.
Yeah. I
think
would
that's
definitely
really
say
key.
I've been in those heavy metal breweries, and they don't always feel very, hey, you, come on in. So, yeah, I think the music, that's such a cool way to look at that, too. And that's why I think it's also important to have, like, because some breweries, which I love, sometimes it's like, oh, brewer's choice, or, like, it's like random people get to have their Spotify on, for example. So it's like whoever's brewing or whoever's just in the back or the taproom manager gets their choice or whatever. And I think that also when you have a diverse team, it allows there to be a mix of music that kind of comes on too, which is very cool. So then everyone gets a little bit of taste. But if you have like a very homogenous brewery and everyone loves metal, then you're just blasting metal in the through the brewery.
Yeah.
And I've been in the tap rooms where I was like, this is awkward. Or I was just like, these lyrics are intense. One time I was just sitting, I won't say where, but sitting by myself, drinking, and I was just like listening to the music. I was like, these lyrics are terrifying. And I was just like, from what I could even discern. So
I was in a brewery
just looking around.
Go on, sorry, Dan. No, please.
Oh, no, I was just saying, you're just looking around wondering if anyone else is hearing these lyrics.
Yeah, literally that's how I felt. Like, I think of it vividly because it just felt like I was in like a TV show or something like that because it just seemed, I was just like, everyone's just, okay.
I was with some friends at a brewery not too long ago, and I didn't really know them super well. And we were in a brewery and they were playing metal, and we went to a different section where you could hear the music a bit louder, and they're like, this is not our vibe. And they were white, and I didn't know what they were into, and they felt uncomfortable with the metal, and they were like, can we go back out where it's quieter? And I was like, oh, okay. So it's, you almost can't call it, and I think it's really, like, I feel like I could count on one hand, maybe two hands tops, how many breweries that are playing hip-hop authentically. I'm saying hip-hop just because it's like,
you can play a mix, yeah. It's like anything.
You know what I'm saying?
You can probably get away with pop with most. Well, no, you should do vibe. You should do a vibe.
I'm saying it in the sense, whenever we do the interviews, when we used to do them in person, we visit breweries a lot anyway, but like you go and like 80-90% were some sort of metal, punk, hardcore, rock type stuff. Then you'd find a brewery that would play hip-hop, and you're like, what is happening? Like, it would trip us out, like, to the point where it was like, I'd never heard this. This is strange to hear rap music and then drinking fire.
It's literally the other half in Casey.
Casey was exactly what I was thinking of in Denver.
In
Denver. Oh, well, not Denver at all, somewhere in Colorado.
Yeah, two. Sorry. I'm sure maybe there's been three.
But I wanted to talk about the authenticity of that. That was kind of where I was going, where some breweries might be playing that and there's nobody of color on the team at all. I mean, hip-hop is maybe not the best example because it's essentially pop at this point.
Yeah, that's why I was saying pop, because I was like, that kind of rolls in the category now.
But
a difference, because honestly, someone who likes Taylor Swift should be able to hear that too. That's what I was thinking. It's kind of like when you have the diverse team, maybe if you let everyone play the music and things like that. Otherwise, you just have to be like aware and be like, hey, even though I like this genre, maybe I shouldn't just like stick to this one thing and play it, because everything is a signal in the end, right? Like every element, the ambiance that you have, the way your cans look, your social media presence, the way your employees look, they're all like signals that people pick up and decide if they feel comfortable in a place or not. So
that's kind of what you just said, Jane. It was like a series of small things that kind of indicated like, oh, I'm welcome here. And I felt good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it so we're not trying to drive away the Swifties by not playing Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift does come on from time to time. But let's say if we are playing hip hop, and if it's a crowd of people that I don't know, like a bunch of old white guys that might not be super into it, my goal is for them to like go to their friends who are into it and say, hey, you would love this place. You should come check this place out, because that's what you're into. So there's little knock-on effects too. I'm not trying to drive anyone away by playing like only one type of music.
Yeah.
But the goal is just to like let people know that, if you know anybody who might be into what we're about, then tell them to come by.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I do that. Was there any sort of like stuff that you guys have done, whether it's in diversity or otherwise, as far as like community collaborations or just working with different aspects of the community, that you would consider as, say, like a win that you could share, that like other breweries could be like, oh wow, that's something that we could do? Is there anything you can think of you guys have done?
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest one would be our drag shows. So we work with a group called Triple Threat Drag. At least one of them is from Markham, and after the first drag show that we did at Rouge, they came up to us and said, growing up queer in Markham, I didn't have a space where like anything like this existed. So like, thank you for hosting this. And honestly, they don't need to say thank you to us at all. It was our pleasure, and it was a great night. All the customers loved it. It worked out super, super well. But that's an easy win that it just takes reaching out. It doesn't take a lot of work to get something like that going, right?
Right.
Another great one's been, we have a big blank wall in the brewery we couldn't figure out what to do with forever. And now we have an Indigenous artist who has their art up there, and customers can check it out, can come buy it. And that's really important to us. So we're really trying to work with more Indigenous artists whenever we can. Jordan is his background's Métis, and then on my side, I have a great grandmother who's indigenous to Venezuela, and then a great grandmother who's indigenous Guyanese. So
Cool.
that's a big area for us that we're trying to improve our activism in, and so far, like that's just an example of something that is really easy, but it makes the place more beautiful, it's not a ton of effort, honestly.
Interesting.
Love that.
So it's like a proactive approach, but thoughtful and authentic.
And multi-prong.
Yeah.
It's from everywhere. Yeah, you're hitting them on every
Yeah,
side.
great.
It's really
No,
smart.
this is
It's
awesome.
great. Yeah, it's very
I-
cool.
I didn't know any of this. And
Yeah.
we just had Jordan on because I guess we were just talking about the real beer side. So this is why these pods I think are still really important to really get that kind of perspective. It's just like it's inspiring, to be honest, dude. Like that, I feel like I want to see other breweries do the same thing because, like I was saying to you off air, like I feel like a lot of breweries don't know where to start, and it feels maybe a little bit intimidating sometimes to be like, oh, what do I do to make to help people? Nobody wants their business to not feel welcoming. Nobody. Like that would be ridiculous.
For sure.
So it's like some people just don't know how to switch it up, particularly if your staff is maybe a little bit monoculture. So like you've given a bunch of really easy examples on how
sure.
to sort of like invite LGBT, different backgrounds, different artists who from different cultures and stuff, and just really and then the music selection,
Yeah,
and then
it's
the
like the
can art
vendors,
and
the tap
the vendors
room,
for
the vibe.
like
in
if you have
terms of
food
the-
trucks, it doesn't even have
Yeah.
to be an event. You can
Yeah.
just have a brewery that doesn't have a kitchen and have food truck pop-ups, like
Yeah.
different food truck every night. Change the damn cuisine and have different
Yeah.
stuff. It's
For
just
sure.
it's kind of rudimentary. It sounds like from the way you're saying this is just it's so matter of fact and just like it's what we do.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it sounds like a lot when you list it out like that, but really, like each one of those is just like a really simple, easy way. Sometimes it's one email, one phone call, and then it's set up just like that, right? But there's a saying. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to butcher it, but it's like energy flows where attention goes, or something
Right.
like that.
That's
But
Yeah, that's right,
exactly
right?
it. Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So if you're thinking about these things, if they matter to you, you will find time. Like I know as a small business, we are super busy. Jordan and I are the only two full-time people who work at Rouge, right? So for us, it's not we're not sitting around drinking beers all day, like trying to think up things to do. We have to. If we want to get something done, we
Execute.
have to be proactive about it, execute on it quickly, and these things, they don't take a ton of work. They just take a little bit of attention, a little bit of care, a little bit of research, and you can make it happen.
Man, that is so well said.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's the kind of like the perfect summary of any approach to all of this type of stuff. And whether it's diversity or just like tapping in a little deeper to the community at large and sort of knowing who you're working with and what's around you and how to sort of make like, breweries, it feels like the way beer is going, it's becoming more local as opposed to like, a lot of American breweries I've known, because we don't really have it here in Canada, but a lot of the American ones that are maybe like, they'll have a West Coast brewery and an East Coast brewery. Like those ones are maybe consolidating a little bit and kind of downsizing because it's like they're focusing more on that local side. And it really just shows like how important that like local focus is and being like, okay, well, this is who is in our area. How can we make as many of our local residents feel welcome first and foremost, and then everyone else who comes in from from elsewhere to visit is like, we got you. We got different cuisines, we got different music, we got different vibes. You're gonna see yourself in. Essentially, what you're doing is trying to make sure everybody can kind of see themselves in something, whether it's the food, whether it's the labels, whether it's the music, whether it's the art. And I don't know. I feel like that's all that kind of summarizes it. That's wicked, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree
I love it.
100%. It's really all about community, and it's not just in beer. Like in general, we all live in our separate little houses now, and we get in our cars and we drive to where we're going. We talk maybe on the internet, but like
Yeah.
the sense of community has really been eroded. And it's nice that the brewery can be a place to kind of start building that back. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I think the whole community is better off for it.
100%.
Could not
Yeah.
agree more.
Yeah, definitely.
That was such a great summary right there.
Yeah.
Honestly, diversity is the future of craft beer at this point as well. Like craft beer growth has been so stagnant for a long time, and I can guarantee you that no style of beer is going to change that. Like, let's say whatever the next cool style of beer is, it's not going to like change that line from here to start going like this. What can change that is just bringing in groups that are already there, already ready to go, and just don't have a way in to be into beer yet, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I just
And
think it makes a lot of sense.
that's an issue we're thinking and addressing too. Is like, I think we're at a max of like the same type of person who likes beer, and that's probably why we're not seeing that growth. And it's like you need to expand to different places, and you need to understand the purchasing power that are in these other communities too, whether it be Black, Asian, Hispanic, and any other community. It's like so untapped. And it's like, in the end, I feel like seltzers and liquor. Oh, yeah, untapped. Nice. And whether that be, the liquor business understands that, and they have all the ways to attract people. Seltzers are kind of getting in there a little bit too. So it's like craft beer needs to do that. It's here. It's been here for a long time. The big guys kind of understood that to an extent too. And it's like, we need to catch up. Otherwise, craft beer is definitely not going to grow. It's just necessary now.
The big guys are diversifying their products as far as the canned stuff and everything. And I like to say, well, we've talked about this kind of at length, but like, I sort of noticed in a lot of the American breweries are having, draft wine, draft cocktails, seltzers, ciders, a whole bunch of different stuff to offer people to be like, hey, well, maybe you might not like beer, but come on in because we have a whole bunch of other stuff for you. And then hopefully you'll end up trying the beer, which is the primary reason for these businesses existing. But you bring them in, so like if me and you are going to a brewery and we're bringing a bunch of friends, obviously we're going to want to go to a brewery, but we want to go to a place that's going to be welcoming. You got a friend who doesn't drink beer, but you got, hey, these 4 other options for you. It kind of makes it more welcoming. So there's so many things that like breweries and people can do to just sort of make that, build the bridge, really is what it is, to sort of not have that like a wall, anybody have a wall up to be like, I don't want to go there, they just serve beer, I don't drink beer. Well, like, you can get these other options, which are going to satiate you and be totally happy, and the food's fire too, and then they'll come in, but, oh, wow, the vibe is great, people are so nice, everything's really cool, hey, that beer looks awesome, let me try that. And then, all of a sudden you're converting somebody. So it's kind of more just bringing as many opportunities for conversion as possible at this particular point in time. That's really what we need to be doing. Like you said, we can't have the one people, but like whether it's like ethnically or culturally, but also just like, what's the word, like what's the word for like someone who doesn't like beer is what I'm trying to say. Taste buddically, I don't know.
Taste buddically, yeah. I was like,
preference, exactly.
Oh,
there you go. Thank you, Dane. Someone's smart here. So like, like someone who have a preference, there's like a beer person, but maybe someone who's like either mildly open to beer or not at all, but they could still be welcome in a brewery. And I think that, almost like you said, diversity is the future of craft beer. Diversity in humans, but I think diversity in offerings. I think those two things, and then offerings both, particularly in the beverage side of things, and then you want to drill down a little further to maybe food, like whether you have a kitchen or not, but then you guys already have the solution to that with various food businesses popping up, offering different things. There's a taco night, there's a banh mi night, and then blah blah blah, and all of a sudden you got all these different type of cuisines that go, and you've got a million different products that go with all of those things. So it's just a culinary beverage experience that's just lit and fun.
Yeah, exactly. And you really got to try and think about it from a perspective that's different from your own, right? So I only know what it's like to walk into a tap room as a straight white guy who loves beer. So that's the only perspective that I know. So when I walk in and I see like 12 taps, they have an option for a flight, or you can get a pint. It's like, okay, everything I need is available, right?
Right.
But that's not the way that everybody walks into a brewery. So you really got to take yourself out of that mindset and think about like, okay, let's say I don't like beer. Let's say, whatever it may be, whatever my preference is, like, is this place kind of like set up for me, right? And it's not that hard to have a couple different wines. It's not that hard to have. We have a cider on tap. We've had that for over a year now, and that's like, it's been huge. It really sells. Like people will drink a beer if they have to sometimes, but if they just would prefer a cider, I'm happy to give that to them. Like it doesn't ruin my day to serve someone a cider if they like it just a little bit more than a beer. So just having those options available is not the hardest thing in the world.
No, I love that. Even if you don't make it, like you can outsource it pretty easily for the most part, from the way I understand the licenses work, and whether it's cider, seltzer, something like that would cover under the license that you have.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be able to sort of bring them bad boys in and just give a few different options. But yeah, it's diversity of everything. That's awesome, man. I really feel like we got some really good points in this one.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
definitely.
Man. Killed it, man. Thank you for dropping the knowledge on everybody and letting us know a little bit more about what you guys are doing. I think that there's a lot that similar businesses could take from this and immediately apply and increase, whether it's bottom line or different people coming into the brewery, connecting with different businesses in the community to just build that sort of networking thing and that feeling of community wherever you may be based. It's hella cool.
Yeah, you're definitely doing it right. You have the intentionality, which is so key, and the authenticity, and I think that's just like the winning formula.
Yeah, man.
And probably proactiveness.
That's it.
Execution, because you got to do the thing.
All the above.
But I think it's a winning combo. You guys are killing it. It's awesome.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. It's something that's really important to us. And I do have to shout out again Jordan's partner, Kristen, who has helped make a lot of this happen since she came on. So huge shout out to her.
Hey, Kristen.
Kristen. That's amazing. We definitely have to get all you guys on for the next Rouge River Big Pod that we do, and get all three of you guys on and really just get more deep into that, because the beer stuff is obviously fun and that's the passion side, but I feel like the other stuff is really important as well. And we waited way too long between pods. I think it was like 4 years or something like that between the last ones that we did, so that's not happening again. So next time let's get the whole team in and really get deeper into that. It's fantastic. But Dane, thank you so much, man, for hanging out and drill. I know these ones are a little bit shorter. I could go for hours, honestly. But this is fantastic. The beer is genuinely
awesome.
fire. I just saw somebody on Untapped when I just went to it, and someone said verbatim, let me see, light, crushable citrus with a mild bitters on the finish. So easy to drink. One of the best pilsners I've had in a while. Someone said.
Sweet.
Love it.
And I appreciate you guys as well putting the full write-up about Link Up and everything in the Untapped description, which is beautiful, so people get to sort of read about it and learn about it as they're checking into the beer and figuring out what the hops are and all that type of stuff. So that's awesome, dude. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Genuine pleasure. Thank you for taking the time. Let's take the screenshot now. Do you want to hold up the old the can there? Babe, do you want to get the can, or do you want to hold your glass as well?
I'll do can.
You can do, because you got more in your glass. You should hold the glass up too. Hold
Okay,
that glass.
I'll hold both.
Yeah, show the glass. Do both.
I'm trying to save it for dinner.
I know. I understand. I know you did. Yeah, it's the move. Okay, ready? Beautiful.
Awesome.
Dane, we're gonna wrap up here. Stick around afterwards, and we'll finish up off air. But brother, thank you again for hanging out and for spearheading this. To be honest, you personally spearheaded Series 6. You were the first one we spoke to get you guys locked in, and then we're able to
thanks for your work. Thank you so much for assisting on the project.
It really was. It truly was.
Appreciate that.
So it was really great. It's an honor to have you guys involved. I've been a fan for a long time, and this beer is spectacular. And thank you for the thoughtfulness behind everything, man. Like it, for us, we didn't see it until at launch, which is also part of the fun. We don't know. We don't ask you guys to share what the beer is and what the label is, so we get to see it there. And I'm like, yo, this is sick. And the beer is as great as I thought it would be. So just thank you for that, man. It just means a lot that you guys really put this thought into it, and and everything else that you're doing for the community, and to contribute to spreading the gospel of craft beer to all walks of life. It's a wonderful thing.
No worries. It's been a blast, and I hope you two want to come by the brewery soon, and maybe we'll report
I was thinking
podcast in person.
It's been a minute. We should definitely do these in person once. Yes, and at the very least, grab a beer. So we'll chat about that afterwards. But Dane, thank you again for joining us, guys. Thank you for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us everywhere at BAOS Podcast, and of course at Link Up Beer everywhere. It's also linkupbeer.org. We are accepting new applications for anybody who wants to apply for the program, whether it's for Cicerone or anything else. We also have our scholarship with Niagara College that has been announced now. So closes October
9th
for application. So this will be well out a couple months before that. So make sure you apply if you qualify, you're in the position. It's basically 50% of the tuition, so it's pretty fire.
Not basically, it is.
Sorry, you're
50% of your tuition covered, so that you can get into the brewing industry and start brewing some beer.
That's what we want to see, and then we'll support you all the way through as well.
With mentorship. So you also get mentorship from our network of brewers, which is awesome. Brewers, salespeople, taproom managers, everybody, operations, all the guys and gals and everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting involved. So make sure you go and apply for that. All the details at linkupbeer.org. We have a nice blog post that explains everything there. Yeah.
That's it.
I can't even remember. I kind of lost my track.
It's because we went to the scholarship. But I feel like that's
say?
it. Yeah. You
This
said
episode will
follow
drop
Link
soon.
Up, and you said follow B.
That's really the main stuff.
And the scholarship is the big one. We really want to make sure that that's like a huge step in our goal to diversify the industry at all levels.
Yes.
So, we're working on the taproom with our Cicerone scholarship and sales as well. And then this is like getting people into the back of the house too, in the production side. And then who knows what other scholarships will come. So
there might be more.
that's why you got to follow us on social so you can keep it locked.
Exactly. And also make sure you go to Rouge River Brewery or brewing.com.
Yes, cop that.
What is it, Dane?
Always do the right thing.
Brewery.com.
Brewery.com.
Yeah.
Grab the Link Up beer. It can be delivered to your doorstep anywhere in this glorious province of Ontario. You can be sniffing those Centennial and Simcoe hops like we are right now. Guys, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks again, Dane. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Bye. Thanks, Dane.
Peace.